Hello, hello, good afternoon. I see the number of participants is increasing and increasing. We are at a number of 27, 28, 29. Welcome to the second CIMAC Town Hall about our IMO activities. Today, obviously, we will be talking about the MSC 110 outcomes, CIMAC's engagement, and key takeaways. As always, the beginning 2 or 3 minutes, I will cross over a few, we'll go over the first 2-3 minutes until everybody is in the room and is able to listen actually. The number of participants seems to be stabilizing at the moment. It's 32 right here, that's good. Maybe I can share the compliance program for starters. As this is not a typical meeting, but anyways, it's important to raise the issue of the compliance program. As always in every CIMAC meeting, we are following the compliance program. We're here to get information from Leo Budicin actually about the MSC 110 last week and the week before. We're not here to talk about any competition topics, not about prices and market developments. We're here to learn from Leo what was happening in MSC 110. And obviously give you all the chance to first of all learn what was happening and then give your inputs, comments, questions. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Leo Budicin to the stage and take over the mic. And you probably all of you are aware already, Leo Budicin is our newest team member. He's here with us almost half a year. Started in January. He's our IMO coordinator, visiting lots of the IMO meetings, and the latest meeting was obviously the MSC 110 the past 2 weeks in London. And Leo, please hand over the mic to you and get started with the presentation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Do you see my screen?
Yes, I do.
Is it okay? Great. So once again, thank you, Daniel. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining today's town hall. As Daniel mentioned, I'll take this opportunity to dive deeper into our recent activities and reflect on the key outcomes from the past 2 weeks in London. So this was what you see on this slide. This was the agenda over the 1.5 weeks of the MSC 110 session that happened in London. Among the many topics covered, the most relevant for us were those related to the maritime autonomous surface ship, the MASS, the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions through new technologies and alternative fuels. And of course, we have followed also the guidelines on maritime cyber risk management. It is worth mentioning that we were actively involved in all these discussions, participating in working group 1 that has been established during this session on MASS, also working in working group 2 on alternative fuels, and of course we have been following in parallel the plenary session. As shown on the slide, the session also included reports from all MSC subcommittees that we as CIMAC had followed, at least the SEC, the SDC, and the HTW in the first half of the year. But I wanted to highlight that looking at the MSC 110, that just finish more on a broad perspective, the tone of this session was, I would say, quite different from the intensity that we had at the MEPC 83. In many ways, it felt, I would say, like, if I can allow myself to put it that way, a little bit as a transitional meeting, not one that were defined by major breakthroughs, but rather steady and behind the scenes progresses. And of course, there were many. But while there weren't many headline-making decisions, like it happened for the MEPC and the adoption of the midterm measures, a lot of work on important topic was laid, and this will shape the future of further discussions at IMO. But before diving deeper into the MSC 110 topics, I'd like to highlight a key milestone for our organization. This is actually the CIMAC's official presentation and the reception that we had at the MEC. This was a long anticipated moment and a major step forward for us. We talked about it in our previous town hall. We talked about it in several occasions, anticipating it, that we are gonna have this formal introductory session at the IMO, which marked our growing presence and engagement at the international level. So the presentation and the reception that I mentioned happened on Friday, June 20th. We have had quite a big delegation. There were, I think, over 10 delegates in the CIMAC delegation, and we had the privilege of presenting CIMAC to the broader IMO community. The session was held in the main hall of the IMO shortly after the morning plenary. I can say that it was really well attended. We were very satisfied by the attendance, and we were encouraged by the strong interest shown by the audience and interaction that we have had. We have started our introduction there with our president, Rick Bohm, who has opened the presentation, has introduced CIMAC, our mission, our structure, and made very clear what are our values and what do we bring to the maritime sector. Rick was followed by our Deputy Secretary General, Daniel Erdmann, who outlined our strategic direction and explained how our working and strategy groups contribute to shaping industry knowledge and collaboration. But we want to go also a little bit deeper. We wanted to showcase our knowledge, and in particular, we wanted to do so in a field where we work a lot, and this is the digitalization one. As you might know, we are also part of the correspondence group that is working on an IMO digitalization strategies, and therefore we were pleased to showcase two recent technical papers that were presented by Marco Coppo from our digitalization strategy group, and those were the ship as a wide data ecosystem and the digital twins in the maritime sector. With these papers, of course, we wanted to demonstrate CIMAC's commitment to technological advancement and our big focus on digitalization. Those are key areas of innovation for the future of shipping and the areas in which we do want to contribute with tangible touches. And to conclude, last but not least, of course, we had our accredited representative to the IMO, Erle Tovara, which is also here today with us. So if you have any question later on, he will also be able to answer to them. He provided an in-depth look at our engagement with the organization, how do we contribute to it, where are we involved, in which committees, in which working groups, correspondence groups, and he highlighted how CIMAC contributes meaningfully to the technical work of the IMO committees and why our voice matters in shaping the maritime regulatory landscape. As I said before, the presentation was followed by a reception in the Delegates Lounge, where we hosted this reception for around 400 delegates. And I must say that that was really a great opportunity to build relationships, to continue the discussion that we started in plenary and that we didn't have time to finish there. So it was really a good moment to network, to respond to questions about our work, and most importantly, maybe to foster new opportunities for collaboration. We have said it in plenaries that day, we have said it in many other occasions, and of course also during the reception, that we are present at the IMO in a spirit of collaboration, cooperation. We want to support each other when it comes to submission that other NGOs or IGOs or flag states might have. So we are definitely there in a cooperation mode rather than any competition. So always open to new opportunities. We also handed out CIMAC branded materials and copies of our publications, included the one that we presented in plenary, the two papers that I mentioned before, and we are sure that these have certainly helped enhance our visibility and impact during the event at the IMO. But now, coming to the topics and the outcomes of the MSC meeting 110 itself, one that was of particular relevance to CIMAC was the ongoing discussions on the maritime autonomous surface ships. As I said, this is a topic that in CIMAC we deal with in several working groups and in our digitalization strategy group. So something that we are really hands-on, and it's something that matters a lot to us. We followed the dedicated working group, which ran in parallel with the plenary. As maritime automation and autonomy continues to evolve, mass, of course, remains a priority area for us, not only from a regulatory perspective, but also as a field that directly intersects with CIMAC's technical expertise and long-term vision. As I have said, we have a lot of knowledge on this topic, and we want to contribute to the code that is now being developed. So, of course, the MAS code sets out principles and safety goals for autonomous and remotely operated functions. During the meeting now at MSC, a major step in the drafting of the non-mandatory safety code has been done. But what I would like to still highlight here, that there is still work to be done, and that the non-mandatory code is still not ready. Of course, that there has been quite a substantial progress, which includes the completion of 18 chapters on 26. I think, if I'm not mistaken, except the sections on human roles, definition, and certificates. One of the major challenges that I wanted to highlight here in this occasion is, for example, that in the work of the working group that has been going on for more than a week at the MSC, is that there were 74 undefined and sometimes conflicting references to system, meaning that there are some definition of system as data integration, as communication, as interfaces. So there was really a lot of definition of the same term. And we as CIMAC, we have insisted a lot, repeatedly on several occasions, to that even before getting into the content itself, which is of course the key issue, but it is really key to have the same understanding and the same agreement of what, for example, system means. And this is something that we will keep on insisting. In plenary, but as well in the working group, it has been once again stressed that the mass code doesn't change SOLAS, or is not a complete new thing that runs separately, but it's only an addition to SOLAS. So existing SOLAS rule will stay and stays in effect unless there are specific exemptions from a flex state on specific topics, but SOLAS remain still the key regulation. Do you see? Yes, now yes. Also, during MSC, another intersessional working group on mass has been established to further develop the code, and we will be participating in it and keep our contribution and work on the mass topic through our digitalization strategy group. But we will ask also contributions from our other working groups, like working group 15, 20, 21, but not only. And what I cared to mention here is also that there is an IACS collaboration underway when it comes to standardization, and how can we actually positively and effectively contribute to the work that is being done in this area at the IMO. So the intersessional group will report back to the MSC 111 that will take place next year in May, focusing on resolving the key issues that are still pending. And as I have outlined already before, despite many unresolved questions when it comes to the mass code, progress has been done, and we can say the progress is still ongoing. One of maybe that one of the things that is worth mentioning is that autonomous vessels based on the mass code must be able to support research and rescue operation. This is an important point that I just wanted to raise here once again. And of course, the non-mandatory status of the code supports flexibilities. So also being able to taking up points and discussion in a smooth way, and this also, of course, supports an experience building phase. Last point on mass is the arrow that you see on the bottom of the page, which is basically the timeline for the future. We expect during MSC 111 in May 2026 to adopt the non-mandatory mass code, and also in the same year, so from 2026, start with the experience building phase. Then we will move to developing the mandatory code, which will start with let's say with official works in 2028. There are a lot of work to be done on that point, and of course it's going to take some time. So there is no expectation to have anything, so a mandatory code to enter into force before 2032. The next topic that was a major topic of interest for us was the one of alternative fuels and new technologies. And more specifically, during MSC, it has been tackled the barriers and gaps that are present and that are spread in different and across different IMO instruments, and that may hinder the development of alternative fuels and new technologies when it comes to GHG reductions. The two main focus areas were number one, identifying the regulatory shortfalls that impact or that can impact clean energy integration. We see them. We see that sometimes there are problems with regulations itself. So this is a point that will definitely that has been tackled and that will continue that will continue to be worked on. And the second one is the evaluation of safety consideration for future onboard technologies. Work needs to be continued on this topic, and so the subcommittee, the MSC, has actually delegated some work to the subcommittees to do. For example, when it comes to the SDC, it is tasked with the modernization of safety standards for nuclear powered merchant vessels, while the CCC is, of course, will be more focused on the development of safety measures for onboard CO2 capture systems. Or if we talk about the SSC, there it is a task to establish protocols for battery energy storage installation. In my previous in the previous town hall, but also in other occasions, I have explained and I have talked about the interim training guidelines for seafarers working with alternative fuels on board on ships that have been agreed on during the HTW subcommittee meeting in if I'm not mistaken, in February this year, which were supposed to be approved by a circular during MSC, and this is something that has been indeed done, while having the fuel-specific guidelines left to the work of the correspondence group that is going on. And all this is done to ensure that the evolving maritime energy options can be deployed safely and under updated international regulations. And this is, of course, why we are there at the IMO and why we are contributing actively to it. There is, of course, our CIMAC involvement in this topic. With particular, I would like to mention two of our initiatives that might be already known to some of you. The first one is the training modules for seafarers on board of ships and that use these exotic fuels and new technology. We are developing an e-learning course, short mods or short training modules in cooperation with the Global Industry Alliance. What we want is to provide seafarers with really hands-on experience and practical videos that they can use for their work with handling of those fuels. We at CIMAC, we do have the knowledge, we do have the expertise to contribute to the content of such materials and modules, and we will be in the near future very much engaging into that, and when it's ready, of course, also reporting back with the outcome and where you can find all these materials. The second one is that we have been invited by the IMO now in July to take part in the seminar on training of seafarers on ships using alternative fuels and new technologies that the IMO is organizing in Singapore with the authorities of Singapore, and we will be there taking part in this seminar and contributing with our knowledge and talking as for the whole CIMAC, on behalf of the whole CIMAC community. Another important issues that or important thing that happened in the MSC is the topic of maritime cyber risk management. Here, one of the priorities is really to consolidate the responsibilities when it comes to cybersecurity within one committee or one body in order to streamline action. And I'm saying that because now we have the topic of cybersecurity spread a little bit around different committees, different bodies. We have it all over the place. And the point is here really to concentrate it in order to be more efficient and to achieve better results. And the aim is like it has been done and like it is being done with the MAS, to develop a non-mandatory cybersecurity code with that is goal-based with risk management principles. So I would say that the logic behind it is a little bit the same as the one for MAS. There will be first a non-mandatory cybersecurity code that will be followed by an experienced building phase before adopting or before having mandatory regulations. Last point or points that are important and that defines other outcomes that we have seen at MAS. The first one is that the MSC 110 has reaffirmed the one ship, one code policy to ensure vessels follow either the IGC or the IGF code. This has been a discussion that was quite extensive in plenary. But the result is that basically the intention is to apply one consistent safety philosophy and to avoid unintentional consequences that could arise from selecting requirements from various codes. So a firm approval or continuation of the one ship, one code policy. Then amendment to SOLAS Chapter 5 has been approved, and they concern new performance standards for pilot transfer agreements that will enter into force in 2028. And last points that I wanted to mention is the IM SBC code amendments for ships carrying solid bulk cargo that will enter into force on 1st January 2027. And not to get into it again, but just to mention that the MSC 111 will be taking place in May next year. And before I stop, I have just one last slide where I wanted to present you, let's say, the more active or the more upcoming activities at CIMAC. The first one is the one that I have already mentioned. On the 14th of July, a CIMAC representative will be present in the seminar that has been organized in Singapore, and always from July we will start working actively, hands-on, these training modules for seafarers using alternative fuels on board on ships. In September, precisely on the 11th, we will be participated in a technical seminar that is organized by the IMO on onboard carbon capture and storage. It is a topic of importance to our members, so we will be present at that seminar. And last thing that I wanted to mention is that on the 6th and 7th of November, a workshop, it's actually the second workshop, one has already been done, I think 2 years ago, on the relationship between energy efficiency and underwater radiated noise from ships. It's taking place at the IMO in London, and we want to be there also because, as you might know, we have recently established working group 22 that is dealing with radiated noise, and so we have even there another topic with a lot of knowledge and a lot of expertise that we want to contribute to the work of the IMO. So that would be it for me for the moment. And I'm giving back the floor to Daniel, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Leo, very much for this presentation. I think that was very insightful, obviously. We already have one person raising his hand to give a comment regarding HTW11. Mr. Professor Rabe, we are trying to open your microphone, and then you are hopefully able to speak. Give me a second.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it works.
Okay. Thank you so much, Leo, and for this good overview of the last meeting. My name is Ron Rabe, and I'm Professor for Marine Engineering at Wismar University of Applied Science. And I was participating at the HTW11 in February in London as a consultant for the German delegation. And I'm also part of the correspondence group in developing guidelines for the training of seafarers using alternative fuels and propulsion concepts. So, and I have just an additional comment to your good overview, Leo. We're working in the correspondence group. We work for specific guidelines for different alternative fuels and propulsion concepts. But there was also developed a generic guideline. And this generic guideline, how to handle new fuels, it's very important, not just as long as we don't have specific guidelines, because we will be never fast enough to develop a new guideline for each upcoming fuel and fuel mix and propulsion concept. Yeah? So it was also very important to develop this generic guidelines, which is addressing especially the education at the academies and the basic education. Yeah? Because it will, in the European position, which we fight for there, it's not that it will be not enough to do courses. We need also a basic understanding of chemistry and physical principles and basics to understand the new fuel and the behavior of new fuel, and then we can top this with the specific characteristic of different fuels, like for firefighting and leakages and so on. But this is my comment that we also in this I would discuss also in CIMAC, and would be thankful if CIMAC also share this position, because there are a lot of other countries they don't do. We should discuss in CIMAC that it also make absolutely sense to create generic guidelines in the same way, and to define this and fix it, not only as interim guidelines until we have specific guidelines. This would be my comment, and I would be happy if we work together with CIMAC in this case. Yeah. I'm also a member of CIMAC and working in the working group number 5, so the contact is given. But this would be my comment, and thankful for your opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this comment, Mr. Romrabe. I think that was very insightful. We will take a note on that and come back to you in respectively also working group 5, but more or less working group 7 fuels, and if there is a chance for us to include some submissions towards HTW in the next meeting, I think that might be insightful.
Yeah, so we could discuss. I think I could also present some results of the working group, and also from the correspondence group, what is the present status there. and there we could discuss CIMAC position. It would be a good idea. Give an overview in working group 7, which we work together always. Searching group 5.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments from someone in the room? This would be now the chance. I think there have been a few questions coming in through the registration process, and I think they were covered by Leo's presentation, as he had a look at the questions in beforehand and organized and prepared his presentation aligned also with the questions. So this might be the reason why there are not too many hands going up at the moment. Yeah, other than that, if there's nobody else asking questions, we are already coming to the end of this second town hall. A little bit shorter than the first town hall some weeks ago, as the first town hall also included a large summary of the previous 1 year activities, and now we're coming more in this regular mode where we report after the major committee meetings. And we will come back with an invitation for the next town hall after the next major committee meeting. Maybe it needs to be mentioned that there are no major committee meetings planned so far for the second half of the year. There might be something coming up more in a spontaneous way, but then we will be obviously updating you on that committee meetings. So far, we wish you all a great summer break, and probably hear you back after the summer break sometime. Thank you for coming to this presentation, and goodbye.